Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 8th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How goes it, Chris, after your well-deserved week off? Did you enjoy your time away?
First time in a long time, Derek. How are we? I've missed you. Have you missed me?
Yes, absolutely. Pining for your return.
Well, I did have to leave you with Johnny, Josh, and Stevie, so I can only apologise for my absence last week. As it turned out, it was quite a busy week. I did feel slightly sorry for Josh, but then I remembered that it was payback for the time that he was sunning himself in Italy while there was a Rangers takeover unfolding and a new manager hunt. So I didn't feel too sorry for him for too long.
Yeah. Natalie says never on time yet. We have been pretty late the last couple of weeks. We've got these new, as you can see, new green screens, folks, that we've been instructed to use. So sometimes it takes a little bit of faffing around to get them upright in our living rooms and what have you. I know that some aren't a fan, it's understandable. So, but sorry if we are slightly late this morning, but there you go. Quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willow's Fencing. If you are looking for a new fence, folks, I know it's been a tad certainly windy down here in Warringtonsville, then you may need a new fence. Look no further than Willow's Fencing. They're the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust. Proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years' worth of experience and unparalleled quality. Their qualified team is dedicated to keeping customers happy and providing exceptional work, aiming to deliver nothing but perfection in every job. You get free consultations, and you also get 10% off with the code Rangers Review on their website, folks. Head over to willows-fencing.com. Right. Well, first of all, Chris, did you watch the game on Sunday? What do you make of it?
I took the kids along for the day, and I thought the first half was decidedly average. It has to be said. First half was not very good at all. Second half was a bit better. It was a bit more like it. As always, it's a pre-season game. Let's not read too much into it. Let's not get overexcited by what we see or what we don't see. It was very much an exercise, and as I thought, Rangers, they got through it. The manager would have learned quite a lot from it, I think. And then it's then on to the remainder of the schedule as we build up to Panathinaikos.
Yes, which is 2 weeks away, and it's going to be here before we know it. We say that every time we're on a video. It's going to creep up on us, and that's the next big game that Rangers are going to be involved in. I've seen some saying that they should have organised another friendly before then. I know Panathinaikos, I think, have played 4 or 5 friendlies by the time that they play Rangers. I think they'll play a behind closed doors game, Chris, down at St George's Park, where you and Joshua are heading down at some point. But are you slightly concerned about perhaps maybe the lack of preparation heading into these 2 matches?
I think time on the training ground is really important right now. With the amount of information that Russell Martin and his staff are trying to get into these players, they need as much time on the training ground as possible. I think Russell spoke about it after the game at the weekend in terms of some of the injury or some of the loads that have been put into the players. A lot of heavy sessions over the last few days, really trying to work them hard. Yes, I can understand why people are a bit miffed that there's not another public friendly, but they are still playing these games behind closed doors. They also had the run out against TNS last week. You've then had the game at Ibrox. As you say, there will be a game at St George's Park over the weekend as well. I would have liked to have seen one more in there. I think that the fans would like to have got along to one more just to see where this team is heading. But the management team must be happy with the schedule because they're the ones that put it in place. So I would have liked to have seen one more. But you look at the reaction to Sunday, the team being booed off at half-time, for example, it's maybe best that Rangers don't play public games right now because there's a lot of people who don't have a lot of time for Russell Martin who are almost waiting to jump down his throat when things don't go well. So he maybe feels that just doing their work on the training ground, working through the program that he's got for them, and then putting it into action in these behind closed doors games. He maybe feels that's the best way to do it. Ultimately, time will tell. Come Panathinaikos, if Rangers look sharp and they look fit and they look tactically prepared and they look at it, everyone will say, well, the pre-season has been good. If Rangers don't lay a glove on Panathinaikos over the 2 games, people will say they've been undercooked and the schedule hasn't been right. So a lot riding on the performance and the result against Panathinaikos, that's for sure.
Yeah. Bolt Your Ball Bag gets in touch. He says, "Is there not a Hartlepool game arranged while they're down south?" Yes, that was confirmed a wee while ago, but it's a Rangers X1 that will be largely made up of youngsters that will take on Hartlepool in that game on Sunday, the 20th of July. So good day out if you want to go down and watch a young Rangers team take on the Hartlepool, National League side these days down at the seaside. It's always very chilly over there from what I hear. So make sure you wrap up warm, folks, if you're heading down there. But I was hoping that there would be an English friendly for the first team, but it doesn't look like that is going to be the case. So that is a tad disappointing, I must admit. So just looking at, we'll talk about the defensive situation, Chris, because Nasser Djiga is closing in on that move to Rangers. It will be a season-long loan. Big unit of a lad, and only played, I think, 5 times for Wolves since arriving from Red Star Belgrade in the winter window. But he will be joining Rangers, and I like the look of him based on the clips I have seen. Emmanuel Fernandez is already in the door. It's obviously an area that Russell Martin is looking to strengthen in. Obviously, Connor Cody interest there, and I'm just trying to think if there's been anyone else off the top of my head. I'm not too sure, but it also ties in with his comments on Clinton Enciala, saying that he has to be playing games, and it looks like he'll be heading out the door, probably on loan, you would imagine, for game time. He says he's had a discussion with Clinton about the situation, and he feels it best that he goes out and plays football for his development. What do you make of it all? Also, reports this morning that Leon King could be heading to Wycombe Wanderers, could join up with Alex Lowry, of course, which will be good for him, I would imagine. Didn't really... we've got an opportunity on Sunday, him and Proper at the back. We won't be seeing them as a partnership again, I imagine, Chris. But where are we on the centre-back situation?
There's quite a lot of talking points when it comes to the centre-backs. We'll start with Leon King. If he and Robin Proper are lining up against Panathinaikos in a couple of weeks, then something has gone very badly wrong for Rangers over the time between now and then. That's not a centre-half partnership that you ever want to see again. Both of them not at the level. Both of them will be allowed to leave. I think Leon King, he's been heading for the exit door for, it feels like, a couple of seasons now. He's just not for all the. You think back several years, and there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of talk about him. But Premier League interest. Rangers then gave him a lucrative long-term contract, and since that's been signed, he's just never kicked on. He's never looked like fulfilling that promise or fulfilling what everyone thought he could become in time. So he has to move on. He's not going to be a Rangers centre half. He has to move and go and play football for the sake of his career. And I think that level would be a good one for him. He's not at the Rangers class. He's not at the Rangers level. But going down there, if he can go and play 30, 40 games a season, helps him re-establish himself, helps him give him a bit of confidence. I think that would be a move that suits all parties, and Rangers are not going to be hard to deal with when it comes to Leon King. The other one they're not going to be hard to deal with is Robin Proper. They need to move him on. It's obvious again that he has to move on. Some interesting quotes from the FC20 sporting director, I think it was yesterday, talking about the timescales on that particular move. It does feel like it's dragged on a wee bit. Rangers obviously have a value. They're not going they're not going to give him away because he does have some residual value. He does have a book value for Rangers. They can reinvest that fee and reinvest those wages. So I don't think they'll be too hard to deal with. But they're right to stick to their guns to an extent to get those two players out, because I say that 45 minutes that should be their farewell appearances at Ibrox, and not too many happy memories for the two of them, certainly of late.
Yep, lots of comments coming in. Let's get to a few of them. Just on Enciala, Adele says, do you not feel that Martin has been a bit quick to move Enciala on Derek? He's gave opportunity to everyone bar him at the weekend. If it's a loan deal, he's clearly not in his plans, Adele, so I wouldn't be getting rid of him completely. I think that would be an unwise move, shall we say. I want to see him playing football elsewhere, and then maybe make an assessment on him next season, depending on how he has got on. I think there's a player there, that's for sure. A few other points. Big shout out to Gary. He says, hi from a very hot, humid Bangkok, and from the Bangkok Bears. What a brilliant Rangers supporters club that is. I was delighted to go over there a couple of years ago for Orsa, and very well looked after. There are a few in that team, he says, and Sunday needs shipped out quick. Absolutely, Gary. Delighted low with the young Finlay Curtis, Gentles and Hutton. Just on Finlay Curtis, his embargoed press conference released yesterday, Chris. Young lad, he's got aspirations of really putting a stamp in the first team this season. Rightly named man of the match at the weekend, took his goal very well, and it says he's really fit. The pre-season has been intense so far. I like the look of this boy. Could he maybe contribute this season, do you reckon?
Does he start the first game of the season against Motherwell? Probably not. Could he have a part to play over the course of the campaign? I think he could do. It really depends how the rest of this window unfolds. If Rangers were, for example, to get Champions League football and the financial rewards that come with that, you would imagine that money is then reinvested in the squad, and that puts those younger players further down the pecking order. I think Curtis does have something about him. He's also had a wee bit of exposure in the first team last season. He should have had more. Now we had this conversation a lot towards the end of the campaign. Players like Curtis, like Enciala, like Rice, they should have been given more opportunities in those games that meant nothing. They were an ideal chance for him to go and see what level he's at compared to Premiership teams. It was a friendly at the weekend, obviously. You can't read too much into it.
Yeah,
he'll be really encouraged by the fact that he got his minutes. He'll be really encouraged by the fact that he's got his goal. He took it well. A really nice moment for him. I think he's still got a long way to go before he can say, I'm part of this first team squad and I'm going to be a starter. If the situation unfolds in the right way for him, I think he could be a good member of the squad and get his chances at certain moments over the course of the season.
Yeah, could you have Si Leslie get in touch? Last time you were in Bangkok, Derek, you led me astray. I think it was the other way about, Si, on the recollection. But it was absolutely splendid over there. So the centre-back situation is certainly, I've said it before, I think it's the priority area that Rangers need to sort out, and it is certainly being looked at, that's for sure. The striking department is also one where there's question marks all over the place, Chris. Now, Russell Martin addressed that in his press conference, touching on Hamza Igaman and why he wasn't involved, being a visa issue. He's hoping that he'll get it resolved, and he's joining up with the squad at St George's Park. Ditto Cyril Dessers, who was in Ibrox at the time, but he wasn't fit enough to take part in the game. But that a bid had been made for him that was nowhere near the club's valuation. Now, Sven gets in touch. I'm not so sure about that picture of Alfredo Morelos as your avatar there, but it says, a Rangers right to stand firm on £5 million for Dessers. Given the player trading model, we're never going to have a better time to sell him. Surely better to get $3 million now than nothing later. I think Rangers are well within the rights to stand their ground on Cyril Dessers here, Chris. Given, as we touched on, the magnitude of the games coming up here, who's going to lead the line? I don't think Danilo, for me, I'm not entirely sure he's going to be the man going forward to lead the line for Rangers. You'd imagine Russell Martin is someone that will just have the one striker up top. I think I'd rather have Cyril Dessers leading the line at this moment in time, given, well, there are interest, of course, in Turgeman. We've seen interest, and Russell Martin was asked about it, about Jamie Vardy, of course. I've seen Luke de Jong mentioned as well in social media. Should be a great signing, I've got to say. I think that would be one that the fans could get on board with. But the striking situation, is that of concern for you?
It's definitely something that has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed fairly quickly, and it certainly has to be addressed really well. The Iggy situation, obviously, we've touched on over the last couple of weeks. We believe that he will move on at some point, and that gives Rangers a bit of money. That gives Rangers a bit of scope to go and do a bit of business in the transfer market. Whatever they do, number 9, it has to be right. No team is going to win the league without a reliable source of goals and a reliable number 9. You could argue that Rangers have one in Cyril Dessers, given the number of goals that he scored over the last 2 seasons. On the point of whether they're right to kind of stand firm on the fee, I think that level of goals that he has scored proves that Rangers are right to stand firm. If they believe that he's worth 5 million and that they can get that, then I don't see why you would accept 3 just to get him out the door. Especially as you can reference there, these games coming up, he's still the best option, because you don't know where Iggy head is at. You don't know where his fitness is at. Danilo didn't really impress at the weekend, it has to be said. And again, usual caveats of it's a friendly and it's still early. But it feels like Danilo has got a lot of work to do and has got a lot of ground to make up. If you have to pick a side tomorrow to go and face Panathinaikos, it's probably Cyril Dessers that you would go. There we go as your number 9. Well, there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of moving parts, a lot of situations that have to be addressed and be solved there. I think Dessers, unless that fee is met or that price tag is met, I think Dessers will stay. And we said on the show, we reported on the site several weeks ago now, when all the Dessers to Greece chat really started ramping up, we tried to kind of play it down a wee bit and say it's not as far along as people believed. It wasn't a case of it's definitely going to happen. Now, we said then that Athens had not met the asking price, and there was no guarantee that they would meet the asking price. Until they do, Cyril Dessers as a Rangers striker, until they do, Dessers is still the man that I would imagine would lead the line heading into Panathinaikos. Now, it's still a couple of weeks away. A lot of things can of course change, and probably will change. Athens could up a bid for Dessers. Leo could finally put some serious money on the table for Iggy. That leaves Rangers really short, and then they have to move quite quickly. But I think that striking situation, having addressed the centre half with some players coming in there, that striking situation, who's going to lead the line, who's going to score the goals, that's a real area, not of concern for Russell Martin, but it's a real area that has to be looked at very, very quickly.
Yep, I'd be keeping them for those games. I've got to say, AEK Athens said to be looking at other potential options for bringing a striker in. So that's an interesting point as well from Paul. Just looking ahead as we near the start of the season, Paul says we need to remember that if we keep Iggy and Dessers, there'll be a wee December, January for the AFCON alongside Diamandi. Yeah, that is something that you need to factor in. Would it be away at AFCON? Was it AFCON I can't remember when AFCON is, but is it a yearly thing? Is it a biannual thing? If I'll take your word for it, Paul. But yeah, that is something that when Rangers do have African players on their books, that you need to factor in that they will be absent for a number of weeks. That's for sure. What do you make just speculation about another striker coming in, an experienced striker? Asked Stevie yesterday if he would like to see a Jamie Vardy at Rangers, Chris. Do you think that would be a good move?
Just on AFCON before we move on, just to clear up any confusion, the 21st of December until the 18th of January is this edition, the 2025 African Cup of Nations. So it wasn't on my radar. It has to be said. But for anyone who's planning their Christmas and New Year around about those particular fixtures, now you know. On the experienced striker, I think that type of profile would be a really interesting one. A Vardy type, a De Jong type, not going to be a guaranteed starter to give you 50 games over the course of a season. Not someone that you're going to run into the ground by playing 90 minutes on a Sunday, and then 90 minutes in midweek, and then 90 minutes the following week. But as an option, as someone to play their part in the squad, someone to play their part in the dressing room as well. I'm looking for a bit of character and a bit of leadership and a bit of experience. I think both of those guys would certainly tick a number of boxes. I think those two comments that I've just flashed up there probably sum up the nature of the debate. I've seen that on social media over the last 24 hours or so. A lot of people fancy Vardy. A lot of people fancy De Jong. It seems a bit of a split. Interested to see how both of those situations unfold. Russell Martin didn't exactly knock down Jamie Vardy at the weekend, did he? He had the opportunity when the question was asked. He had the chance to say, "There's nothing in that one. He's not going to be a player for us." He didn't. You can read into that whatever you like. The De Jong stuff. Asked a couple of people on that last night. It's on my list to try and find out a bit of information on that today. So of course, as always, if we have anything on it, will be on the site and on the channel and on the social. So I say one or two there to certainly keep an eye on.
Yeah, just on Hamza, Leo President Olivier Letang admits that they are interested in him, but they have yet to make an offer, as we have reported. He told a publication over in France he is indeed a player we are following, but we have not yet made any offers to his club. So there you go on that one. Again, if Lille aren't willing to stump up what Rangers are asking, then there are no, it will be a substantial amount of money, but they shouldn't be selling them on the cheap. There is no rush to sell Hamza Igaman at this point in time, so I've got no problems with him being a Rangers player for the foreseeable. Moving on from that, there was a point, in fact, we had the story out yesterday, and this will certainly spark debate in the comments, I'm sure. Certainly resulted in a lot of comments and a lot of anger and frustration on social media when we published the story yesterday, Chris, and it's Rabbi Matondo. Shock horror, his return to pre-season training has been delayed due to injury, and he's underwent a minor procedure on his knee over the course of the summer. He's expected to come back by August time. Rangers need to move this lad on, Chris. If it's just to get I'm not really too fussed about a fee here. They just need to get the wages out the door.
They do. One of these deals that has just not worked out ever. It's just been a disaster of a signing. If from a Rangers perspective, has offered virtually nothing over the course of his Rangers career. That's the two moments that stand out. But for a $3 million fee and a fairly hefty weekly wage, it's not exactly a lot of a return, is it? I think you could probably put us two in that side, and we could have produced a couple of moments. No, it's not been good. It has to move on. But that's going to be easier said than done. If you're a club out there, if you're a sporting director or you're a manager and you're looking for a winger, why is Rabbi Matondo on your list? Why would you go for someone with his injury record, who's going to have his wage demands, who has not played enough football of late, who had a loan spell second half of last season and didn't exactly hit. You can set the world alight there. What's the attraction for a signing club? Moving him on is going to be a real challenge for Rangers. He's on a long list of players that can move. Now, we touched on a couple at the top of the show in terms of King and Proper. There's others like Davies, like Dowell. Matondo is on that list. I would argue that Matondo is probably going to be the hardest one to move on, just because of all those factors that we've just spoken about. But it's not one that's worked. It's a deal that Rangers have to try and get themselves out of as quickly as they possibly can.
He's got a year left on his 4-year contract, has Rabbi Matondo, and I see some people saying it's going to be difficult to shift him. Maybe another loan, perhaps, but it's been an awful signing over the piece. Dan with the point, Matondo goes down as one of our worst transfers in Fox. I'm just thinking of costly transfers that Rangers have brought in that have been disastrous over my time watching them. I know some people might say Flo, but for me, if he never had the £12 million price tag on his head, he would be considered a decent signing, I would say. And the fact they get, I think, £6 million back for him, I would label him at the top of that list. Just trying to think, is there any others? I know Bert Conterman wasn't exactly Franco Baresi when he came in. Any others off the top of your head, Chris, that were costly mistakes at the time?
These are always hospital pass questions when we're live. And if you're going to throw these questions out, you need to give me a bit of time to do a bit of homework on these things. I'm not as good as Joshua at rhyming these things off the top of my head. Certainly of late, nobody's jumping out. Gres was a good shout there. Cifuentes was a good shout there. Actually saw Cifuentes at Ibrox on Saturday. Was leaving on Sunday. Sorry, was leaving the ground in the enclosure and saw Cifuentes kicking about, and there was some of the fans. I think that's as close as he'll get to the Ibrox pitch this season. No, I think of late, Matondo certainly takes it for me, given the fee, given the wages, given what was needed at that time. Another probably a big shout out for Sam Lammers last season as well. Not one that worked out at all, but unfortunately Rangers have had a few of these high profile flops over the last few seasons, unfortunately.
Yeah, Alistair says Santas. I remember that. I try not to remember that sort of spell. He never broke the bank, that's for sure.
Poor player, but didn't come with a £3 million transfer fee. I think there's a difference between poor value for money and poor players. Yeah. We could sit here all day and rhyme off fairly rotten Rangers players. Yeah. But in terms of like a big deal and a big fee and big wages and big expectation, so I think that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Some folks saying Sebastian Rosenthal, I think he was just hugely unfortunate. Comment here, it was a bad one because of injury. Good guy, but poor value. Yeah, absolutely. I think he would have been a revelation at Rangers had he not done his knee in on his debut. I think he could have been a real cracking player for Rangers. It was hugely unfortunate what happened to him. Luke says Pena. Yeah, Carlos Pena was a mistake. And then some. Thank you for the goals at St Johnstone, Partick Thistle, I think he scored against. And that was about that. There's a good few comments coming in and suggestions, but let's hope that the signings this summer prove to be value for money, because Rangers need them to be. Right, folks, we'll wrap up there for now, but a big thank you to Chris as ever, and thank you to you all for tuning in to the show. I did say yesterday we were hoping to get a Luton fan on to give us some insight into Tello Asgard, but unfortunately unable to get hold of him yesterday. So we're trying to find out alternatives, and we'll bring you that video as quickly as we possibly can. And that aside, I don't think we're envisaging any breaking news videos this afternoon, but make sure you're subscribed to the channel, to the website, to the social media accounts to make sure you don't miss a thing. Expecting a busy day today, Chris?
You always expect a busy day, and if it turns out to be anything but then it's a bonus. A couple of things to chase up, a couple of things to write actually for later on in the week. Myself and Josh heading down to Burton on the Thursday morning, and there's access at the training camp on Friday. So of course we'll be across that video wise, and also on the socials and on the site. We do expect a Djiga announcement at some point. I'm just going to go and send a text message and find out when that will be. So of course we'll have all the reaction to that signing across the site as well. So we'll see how the day goes, but time will tell.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, folks, enjoy your Tuesday, whatever you are up to, and we'll speak to you later on. Bye for now.